Alright, well, now it's draining from the crankcase. I got my oil coming out pretty good. No issues there. I tightened it on last, so it's not tightened on like it's a lug nut. I also tightened this on last, so I know it's not messed up. The seal right there is fine. If it's messed up and you want to fix it, but that's its own part for its own day. It's not something that usually ever goes bad. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to install this by way of the top of the engine. Since we're lucky and we bought a car with more expensive filters, this is one of those mechanical advantage situations I have to pause for. Alright, well, this is as good a time as any to tell you, because of the extension on there, and my poor lighting, you can't see, sorry. Because of my extension on there, the way that meets the top of that short socket with that extension, when you go to twist, if there's any amount on there, it'll just try to do that. It'll torque out of alignment. What you want to do is keep it 90 degrees. So you put a hand here and then you push with that hand. It avoids you rounding stuff off or stripping it. If I could get right down on top of it, I would, but you can't, because you have this plastic thing, you have more plastic stuff, sensors, etc. So get in there like that, twist it off. It's supposed to be on there with 16 foot-pounds roughly, 25 Newton meters plus 1, so it's just past hand tight. But with the aluminum on plastic, it dissipates heat differently, and it likes to warp, and it likes to hold things tighter than it should be. Nothing wrong with it. Now what I like to do is get this loose and then put my drain plug back in on the bottom, move my drain pan underneath it. That way when I go to take this out, there's not oil all over the cardboard or whatever I'm working under. Alright, well, it's not finished draining. I like to get it until it's just a drip, but that's my own preference. Up here we have the front engine mount. This is roughly where that filter was, and what I like to do is put the drain plug in by hand carefully all the way until it meets the engine, and then I move the drain pan out of the way, get my wrench in there, and let's say you're more petite, you're not as fit, you don't work out, tighten it. If you go to the gym, you do some heavy lifting, you go and you have a labor intensive job, you shouldn't be flexing to tighten this thing. It's 16.5 foot-pounds. That's it. That's all it requires. It just has to be snug to the engine. It's not holding it together. It's just holding oil in. It's not under super high pressure. 16.5 foot-pounds. You can look it up. I'm pretty darn close. Alright, well, I moved the oil pan right there. Tightened my drain plug. I got that pet peeve out of the way. The next step is to get this out and get the filter changed. And try not to move the camera too much while I get the filter out of the box. Now what you're looking at is your internal filter. It's not a can, like I said before. What you're dealing with is just the paper part. Never seen one before, don't be scared. And what you're especially looking for is this O-ring. Call it whatever you want. It's a seal, it's an O-ring. One more pet peeve I really don't care to get into. They call it whatever they want. It's a freaking O-ring. Here's the old one, and it's about time. There is another O-ring that goes right there at the end. I don't know if you can make it out, but it's green anyway on that one. The short socket was for this right here. Chintzy, yes, but it's effective. It works. It's been on there for 5 years. And here's why you don't over tighten anything. This is plastic. That is aluminum. 16.5 foot-pounds, 25 Newton meters, whatever. You go ahead and correct me. You don't over tighten it. You want to torque it down, be old school, be a tough guy. That's awesome. Have fun fixing your engine. This is a pain in the butt. Requires 2 hands. I have to pull it apart. It's kind of socketed on there. All right, well, there's all kinds of stuff to doing your own oil changes that might deter you, and it might make it interesting and awesome for you. This O-ring, I've been told, well, you take your 2 fingers, you work it around. That works great if your hands aren't full of oil. I usually carefully put my pocket knife or small screwdriver under the O-ring, pull it up, work it off, and then put the new one on after I put a little bit of oil on it. Alright, well, you didn't see, but it's supposed to fit tight, so be careful working it down over the threads. Never had one break or cut, but just use caution. Put a little oil on it before. Everything's oily, everything's greasy, everything's dirty. Oh well. The residue on your hands is enough to suffice for the tip of this. You just pop that on there, and then using caution again. Now I keep saying plastic on aluminum, plastic on aluminum, plastic on aluminum. I'm telling myself as much as I'm telling you, this stuff is, it's not made for abuse. It's made to fit together as cheaply as possible and do its job. Now, in all actuality, every time you change your oil, you're supposed to replace that cap. That's absurd. There's no effing way I'm going to pay an extra $10, $12, $15, whatever it was last time I priced it. Now this gets hand tight. See, it made contact. Got some resistance. And I'm not forcing myself. There's no straining. I'm not grunting. It's not a lug nut. Now, by this time you should know that everything I'm telling you is, it's not a lug nut. Nothing on here is holding the wheels on. Nothing we're doing is holding the engine together. Okay, it's not a class fit part. We're just almost cosmetic right now with the engine. And then